back in the 90s, late 90s, Lyndall Askew and I had a contract with the USDA to photograph every single county in the Lubbock area, or every single square mile of 6 counties in the Lubbock area. And we had leased a 1957 182 from a friend. It had a camera port in the bottom, and Lyndall would sit in the back and run the camera. Had this 35 millimeter camera on a gimbal, and he would make sure he had a TV there, and he would make sure it was straight. Had the seat out of the airplane and a little jump seat in there. He'd just make sure it was square with the county, and we'd fly along and take pictures of the crops, and they would certify the cotton crops off of that. And so I think maybe the first or second day, maybe we're doing it, not very long after we had done it. I was familiar with the airplane, but I'd never actually flown the airplane that much. And and it had aftermarket fuel tanks on it that, if I recall correctly, the fuel capacity was the same, but the usable was a little different. So we're at 10,200 feet over Lynn County, Texas, and we were halfway across the county. And out here, a lot of the main county seats are kind of in the middle of the county. Counties are 30 miles wide, so it's 15 miles to the middle of the county. And we were about halfway across the county. And we'd been up there, I don't remember how long, a long time. And I'm depending on Lyndall. I'm a young pilot, 30-something. And I remember I asked Lyndall, I said, hey, man, how long will this thing go? We've been up here a long time. And he says, well, it's been, I don't remember what it was. It's been 4 hours. And he said, it'll run another 20 minutes easy. We got easily 20 to 30 minutes of fuel. He said, just run to the end of the county, which is only 15 more miles. He said, turn around and go back to Lynn County and land, and we'll get gas. I was like, okay, he's a boss, he's a super pilot, So we flew to the end of the county, and that thing stone cold quit on me. I was like, it's out of gas. And I was like, oh my gosh, and it was right in the middle of me turning around to go back. So that was a good thing. So I was turning around to come back, it quit on me. And I just remember telling Lyndall, I was like, this thing just quit on us. And I'll never forget Lyndall's response. And I see his head right here, his head pops up, and he's looking over the seat, and he's like, completely? And I'm like, dude, that's like being pregnant. Yes, it either did or yeah, it completely quit. And I'm, just almost going into panic, and to set the airplane and the glide and all that. And he's looking over the seat, and he goes, just go back to Lynn County and just land at the airport there. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's what my plan is. Look, it's 15 miles over there. I'm like, I can't make that. But it's West Texas, and there's flat cotton fields everywhere. And I really wasn't worried about wrecking the airplane. I'm like, I'm going to have to land on that highway down there. Feds are going to come. I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to lose my license because I'm idiot enough to run this thing out of gas. And I get it set up on the glide, pull the prop, got a good glide going. And I'm just, Lyndall, we can't make that. And his head would pop up, and he would look. He's like, He said, you can make that easy. And then he would look down, and so I finally looked over the seat, and he's cleaning up boxes and putting things up, just, security. He'd look up, you got that made. That's why we call him Cool Hand Luke. So I was freaking out, and then some other things that they teach you in flight school and on the ground school and everything about that airplane has unusable fuel is absolute BS. If you put a 182 in a glide like this, a 57 model, particularly that one, put it in a glide like that for a few minutes from 10,000 feet, all that unusable fuel runs down and into the carburetor. Whoa! It takes off and starts running again for 7 or 8 seconds. But I was like, man, I got some altitude. I got back. So I'm doing a straight in to Lynn County, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have to slip this thing to get it on the runway, and I did. I had to slip it down, and I did my only Bob Hoover that I've ever done. I came in and I landed, got it on the runway, no problem. Made the turn off to exit, and then you could just roll straight to the pump. I rolled right up to the pump and stopped right at the pump, just like Bob Hoover, right? And we get out, and of course Lindell knows he is a farmer down there, so he knows everybody in the county. And the guy comes out to fill up the airplane, and of course they're old friends. And the guy's on top of the ladder, he's filling up the airplane, and he fills up that side, and then he comes around the other side and he's filling. And they're just talking about everything. And I'll never forget. The guy looks at the fuel meter and he looks at me and he goes, "Y'all were out of gas." I was like, yeah, we were completely out of gas. So there was another story with that airplane. So all that started years later and everything. Lindell Askew was the only guy I knew that had run it in his aviation career. He'd ran out of gas twice, and both times in the same airplane, and both times he was in the back seat, because him and some buddies took that thing to Oshkosh one year, and Lindell's asleep in the back, and had some inexperienced guys up front. One of them was a Learjet pilot. I'm not going to name names, but Lindell said he woke up, that thing quit. They ran out of gas, that thing quit. And Lindell was in the back leaning against the window, and he said he looked down. He said there was a runway right below them with a little shack at the end. And, of course, the guy flying the airplane said, "Well, is there gas there?" And Lindell said, "Yeah, man, there is a shack with a fuel pump there." So they circle around this airport, and he makes this gorgeous landing, and the shack is at the end of the runway with the fuel pump right there. And so they roll right up to the fuel pump. And the way I can't remember exactly the truth of the story, but the way I remembered it was that there was a guy sitting on the front porch of that shack with overalls on a rocking chair, and they all get out of the airplane. They roll right up to the pump. They all get out of the airplane, and Lindell said, "Hey, we need some fuel." And the guy's like, "Well," he's pulling on those suspenders, "well, county took the tanks out about 10 years ago, so there was no gas there." So they had to call the sheriff, and the sheriff hauled them to the next town. They got some gas cans and put enough gas in it to get it over to the next town. But Lindell Askew ran out of gas twice in his aviation career in the same airplane. Both times he was in the back seat.